Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives, and welcome to episode 83 of the Stark Reflections podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre, and in this episode is going to be part 2 of the Draft2Digital Ask Us Anything, which was done in June of 2019. This week, I'm on a road trip with my son, and I'm recording this in at a resort, in sort of a larger hotel room in Horseshoe Valley. Now, the road trip is part of an annual tradition we've been doing since almost since he was born. You know, in Canada, you get a full year off of maternity leave, and his mother was off for the first year. And so for his first birthday, the week that his mother went back to work, I booked that week off of work to spend with Alexander. And ever since then, I'd always ensured taking the first week of July off to spend with him, often with some sort of big project to do. So one year, I remember it was ripping out the back deck, and another, it was putting up a play structure. It might have been resodding the front lawn. And about 6 or 7 years ago, it evolved into us taking a father and son road trip together, which has always been absolutely amazing. Now, we call it the boys' road trip. So we're on the 2019 boys' road trip. And the furthest we've gone was in 2015 when we flew to London, England. And we were going there to go to Minecon, which is a giant con all about Minecraft, limited to 10,000 people. So even getting the tickets was challenging. It was like 45 minutes of desperately trying for the first 5,000 batch, which I didn't get into. And then the next day, when the next 5,000 tickets were released, I actually managed to get tickets, which I was really excited about. He was huge into Minecraft, and Minecon was an amazing experience for both of us. It was a really fun trip overall. We got to do a lot of things. We got to go to London Tower and Tower Bridge, which some people call London Bridge, which is right beside London Tower, as well as check out some of the other sites there. So one of the things we did, we even met with Joanna Penn, who was living there at the time, and she met us at Piccadilly Circus, and she gave us a walking tour of that area, which was quite fun. I'd only been to that area once before, and then she also took us over to Buckingham Palace, which was kind of cool. Now this year so far, we've got the latest Spider-Man movie, Far From Home. We've done some treetop trekking and the mega zip line in Horseshoe Valley, which is near Barrie, Ontario. We've played pool, we've played horseshoes, gone swimming. And later today, as I'm recording this on Thursday, the 4th of July, so I should pause to say Happy 4th of July to my American friends. But we're heading north to Parry Sound, where we're going to go swimming, and we're going to have lunch at Trestle Brewing Company in Parry Sound, and then we're going to head north to Sudbury to spend a few days up on my mom's, where we're going to do a few sort of summer chores around her place, as well as some local fun stuff, which will, of course, include swimming at Windy Lake. But that's enough of a personal update. I'm just going to say a word from our sponsor, Findaway Voices, and then we're going to move on to part 2 of the Draft2Digital Ask Us Anything. This episode is sponsored by Findaway Voices. Findaway Voices is a platform that authors can use to get their audiobooks out into the broader audiobook community, including Audible and Apple Books, as well as a plethora of other platforms like Kobo and Google Play and Overdrive, which feeds the library systems. And one of the cool things about Findaway Voices is, unlike publishing using ACX to go to Audible, you can actually control your price. You can set your price, which means you can do discounts. And Findaway Voices is partnered with BookBub, to do Book Chirp, which is currently only available in the US, but it's a great opportunity for authors to start to exploit the same sorts of things they may be doing with places like BookBub and Bargain Booksy and other places like that, Fussy Librarian, eReader News Today, to do promotions on their ebooks. So there's opportunities there for promotions with audiobooks. Now, if you feel like it's been too late and you haven't gotten into the audiobook industry, don't worry. It's still early days. There's still lots of growth. There's still lots of things happening. And so if you haven't done it yet, don't worry about it. But it's worth researching it, and it's worth understanding. And you can check out some great information about audiobooks over on the Findaway Voices blog, which I'll link to in the show notes at starkreflections.ca. And you can also check out how you can use Findaway Voices as an author over at starkreflections.ca/Findaway. Well, that's it for the introduction and word from our sponsor. Let's get right in to this chat, part 2 of Draft2Digital, Ask Us Anything. And this is a comment. So Martha asked this. I had to scroll down to see that one. It's sort of related to something Dan already mentioned, but it ties into this question as well. And it's related to, how does Draft2Digital work with the retailers to help get promo ops, like the ones that you may get direct? This came from Kelly and Jay, but also Martha asked a very similar question along those lines. That was basically how to take advantage of those promos.
Well, I mentioned earlier, the pre-orders are one of the things that people just aren't taking advantage of enough. There's a lot of the different marketing opportunities that are present at the retailers that are just determined on the number of pre-orders you get. And so you want to make sure you have pre-orders. Just really push those. Make sure your website, you've got links to all the vendors. Make sure on your social media you're linking to all the vendors. The universal book links we keep mentioning are a good way to do that. Because the retailers really do go out and check when we send something to their merchandisers. They go look at your page, and if you are only sending people to Amazon, then they're not going to select you. Another thing you want to do is you want to make sure you've got a wide variety of price points and different formats available. And what I mean by that is there are some of the promotions that are only for book bundles. And so a book bundle is a really good thing for promotions because you can have a higher price. You can have $9.99 for like the first 3 books. You can have $19.99. I've known people that are selling, all of their series for like $29.99. The great thing with Draft2Digital is your royalty stays the same no matter if it's above $9.99. And so you're still getting paid the same amount. There are people, especially for whatever reason, readers on Kobo buy a ton of bundles. It's always in our outliers for the month is several bundle sets. Some of those promotions out there are just bundle specific. And, with a bundle, you can have a higher price point and lower it a little bit, and it's still a great deal to readers out there. With all of the other types of promotions, kind of like I was saying earlier, we email right now to let people know what's available. We've moved over to this form system. And so you just fill in, the title of the book, the ISBN, what the current price is, and what promotional price you will offer for this particular promotion with a lot of them. Some of the special promotions are a little bit different than that. Like when we work with the libraries, they generally will just say, a percentage off of the library retail price. And so we kind of let you know in those emails what the requirements are.
Great. A little bit of a quick follow-up question to you talking about bundles. And I already asked bundles versus box sets.
Yeah, so how are we defining those two?
I think for the most part, we mean the same thing when we say it, like either way. There is the question of a lot of times when we're talking about bundles or box sets, we're talking about with your own books. But there are people that do bundles with other authors as well.
Right. And I mean, I come from traditional print book selling. A box set is actually books in a box that are, and so like I always try the semantics for me are, well, it's not really a box set. It's a digital bundle. So for me, I have a different take on that because of my legacy in stocking dead trees on shelves. This question came in live from Anna. And is there any way to alter the copyright page? I ask because I'd like to alter the info on there, and when I remove that option and create my own copyright page, I can't format it. It becomes problematic when I create a PDF for a paperback version that may be released on another day or a different edition.
So, okay, I'm kind of trying to wrap my head around what the second half of the problem was. So when she removes the option and creates her own copyright page, she can't format what exactly? That page or because I know that if you provide your own EPUB, it's kind of locked. We can't alter that on your behalf or anything. But if you're creating your own copyright page and including it with your manuscript, you would just have to edit it in the original manuscript and re-upload the manuscript. Right. But I may be oversimplifying her question.
Yeah, that may be something we may have to answer offline, like look at the specific details.
Anna, if you'll email support@draft2digital.com, real life human beings will help you answer this question if we can.
Real life human beings that aren't on the spot trying to not trip over
They're all watching us right now, so I'm sure there's like spitballs and other things flying at the screen right now.
All right, so this is a sort of a generic indie publishing question. And I mean, it's been a hot button topic for a long, long time. And it's the overview of basic pros and cons of being wide versus exclusive to Amazon. And this was the style of question that came in from Evelyn and Liz and Rohi. And I guess in a nutshell, I kind of look at it from two different perspectives. Amazon is the world's biggest bookstore. And oftentimes when you're digital publishing, when you're self-publishing, it's really, really hard to learn everything at once. So oftentimes you go, okay, well, why don't we start with the big bookstore and I'll publish there first, and then I'll get used to it and I'll get to understand the business. And then once I become comfortable with it, well, if I'm making 6 and 7 figure incomes from that, then I'm done. But after that, once I've gotten used to it, then maybe I can expand my horizons, because it's hard enough to learn one before learning others. So one of the benefits of being exclusive to Amazon is that, yes, you get access to Kindle Unlimited page reads, which work really well for some people, particularly if they have a lot of books in a series. And you get access to promos that Amazon's not going to give you unless you're exclusive, like making your book free for 5 days. Whereas Amazon does not let you set the book lower than 99 cents at all, but the other retailers do. And through Draft2Digital, you can do that. You can't set it to free on Amazon. It'll actually, we'll have to submit them a 99-cent price, even if you make it free, because that's their policy. But they do aggressive price matching. So a lot of times authors who want to have a free first book in series will use wide distribution to force Amazon to price match to free. So it's kind of funny. You can use Amazon's archaic ways in a way that benefits you with the other retailers. The pros for me of going wide to publish to the other platforms is, I'm in Canada and I used to work at Kobo. So guess what? I own a Kobo, and 98% of my digital library is Kobo. So my default store when I hear about a book that I want to read is I'm probably going to buy it on Kobo. And so if your book is only on Amazon, it doesn't matter how appealing the book is to me. I'm not going to go and buy a Kindle, or I'm not going to switch platforms just to buy your book. I'll just go and buy another book that is in the same vein, because, we're not just competing with other books. We're competing with other things that are going to get our attention. So for me, when, as an author myself, and I'm not a big name author, so if somebody is interested in buying my book and they go to Apple, or they go to Amazon, or they go to Kobo, or they go to Nook, or they go to wherever they go to buy their ebooks, I want them to make sure there's no excuse not to find me. So that's why wide is important to me. Now, I've been talking. I didn't give you guys a chance to talk about this one, or should we move on to the next one?
I think it's an important one. I mean, that is the quintessential question we have to answer at conferences a lot. And so
that's kind of the heart of who we are, honestly.
Yeah, we are champions for going wide, but we also, we're not evangelical about it. We're not telling you wide is the only answer. And in fact, we think the future is hybrid in many ways. It's hybrid in the sense that many of you are going to, at some point in your life, do a traditional deal as well as be self-published. If you are already traditional, most of you are going to self-publish at some point in your life. as long as KU is working the way it is, probably you're going to have some books in KU and some books wide. It's going to be really the best strategy. It seems to be like a different group of readers, maybe a new group of readers that are in KU. And so what I encourage people to do is consult their peers within their genre, because it's very different from genre to genre where the readers are, and go from there. We're big fans of wide. I think the number one thing that drives me nuts about Amazon exclusivity is that for some reason they choose to include libraries as their enemy. And so if you have your book in Amazon exclusive, you can't sell your books to libraries. I grew up going to libraries.
Book, right?
We were very poor when I was young. The way I got to be a lifelong reader was through the library system. And we love libraries. They're great for discovery. And so being wide, you get to participate in that and try to sell your book digitally. Mark mentioned the exclusivity is just digital. You can have your book ready in print and libraries might buy it. Although libraries don't buy if you're only listed in Kindle Direct Print. Is that what they call it?
KDP I think that's
KDP Print.
Yeah. I think, yeah.
You would need to have it listed with someone else for a library to buy it, because they don't buy things with CreateSpace or with Amazon Now, ISBNs.
Okay. I just want to pop this up because this is kind of related. So Allison commented that I've been wide from day one, and I actually sell more on Kobo than any other retailer. And Allison, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is true. There are authors where Apple is their best retailer, where Nook is their best retailer, where Kobo is their best retailer, and they would not have had that had they gone exclusive to another retailer, right? They might not have even known that their customers, their people, their tribe, the ones who love their books more than anyone, are on a different platform. So I think that's also an important thing to consider.
Looks like we have a couple of questions in the comments that I think are great ones. That if you can pull some of those up.
Yeah, I wanted to go to. Should I jump into the audiobook one, or should we just stay on this topic for one more second? In terms of
there was one about libraries I think we should hit on.
Okay. From Ted. Okay, let me bring that one up. Thanks, Dan. All right. So Ted says, I notice libraries have a listing of the number of copies they have for distribution at a given time. Do libraries purchase the number of copies they want to be able to lend? Do they pay special rates? If so, who decides it? Yeah, and that's a great segue into how we work with libraries.
Definitely. So with the digital library systems, how it works right now for most of them is they buy a single copy, and that copy they can lend out to someone. But while someone has it out, no one else can get it. If they have enough demand for that title, they might buy multiple copies. And so that's kind of it's the digital copy will be in their library system effectively forever when you sell it through Draft2Digital or as an indie. But only one person can check it out at a time. This is going to be to each individual library purchases what's going to show up in their digital system. Some of the different vendors are starting to experiment with models that are a little bit like Kindle Unlimited, where where you as an author get paid out based on if someone checks out your book and is reading it. And that allows unlimited numbers of it to be checked out to their patrons. But anytime anyone's reading it, you're getting paid for it. And so we think that's going to be really good for indies and expand the amount of readers they're going to have access to. So that's all changing a little bit. The cool thing with libraries is you get to set your own price. It's a separate price from your retail list price. It doesn't trigger price matching anywhere. Generally, the traditional publishers are charging anywhere from $50 to $100 for their books selling to libraries in digital formats. We encourage people, it's probably you want your library price to be considerably higher than your normal retail list price, because they are going to have it forever. They're going to be lending it out to multiple people. And so that's something, and you get to choose that. It's basically just one of the fields when you're setting up to go to Overdrive and to, where all do we go? We go to Overdrive, Biblioteca, we've got Hoopla and Beta, and we've got one other, Baker and Taylor. So you get to set that different library price.
Okay, excellent. And just to point out, we actually had a few other people, Jeremiah and Karen, for example, had asked the same sort of question about how can DDD help get my book into library. So that covers that as well.
We will physically carry your book into our local library branches and leave it there.
So we're gonna take a different turn right now. So there's both a pre-question that Anne Marie, Kathy, Ann, Austin, Liz, Katie, and Peter asked. Google Play, basically they were asking, well, what the heck is up with that? What's the latest? And also, Mark just posted that as well. Any news on Google Play books? So it's this is the Google section. Can we give an update on Google Play, Dan?
So, Google Play, we are working hard at it. Like, we've got developers that have been just chipping away at that all summer. The things they're asking us to do right now are very difficult, and it's a very
it's a manual process,
manual and arduous process. We don't have any promises. We're working on it as hard as we can. We hope to continue to offer it to everyone, but it's they're making it particularly difficult.
Okay,
but we are coming to some solutions, and it will be happening soon. We've got processes in place to help automate a lot of what Google wants us to do, and then I think we're kind of in a position to do that. I'm just going to say it. We're going to do it better than anybody else out there is going to be able to do it. So
it's so awkward, though. It is awkward. So
it's awkward. Yeah.
We want to make things really easy and simple for you authors, because simplicity means it's quick and your time is your money. But man, they're not helping us with it.
Yeah. We want to stress that this is Google making this difficult. So I don't think anybody really questioned that, but it's definitely Google making everything difficult.
I suspect maybe they have hidden cameras in our office, and then every time they change how they want to do things, they giggle and watch us jumping through all these hoops.
They twirl their mustaches.
Yeah. Now, this is a question that comes up a lot, and this was asked by Robert and Steve and Lewis, and it's basically, how do I get books on a bookstore and retail bookshelves like Walmart and places like that? Will CreateSpace expanded distribution, or now known as KDP Print expanded distribution?
I was going to say it will not, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. CreateSpace doesn't exist anymore. No, and it won't. But what are some options that authors have to try to get books into stores? I'm going to start off with this one and kind of explain the difference between traditional book distribution and print-on-demand distribution. And the fact is that the one thing that traditional publishers do really, really well is they are the purveyors of risk, because in the book industry, returns are a major, major issue, and billions of dollars are spent or billions of dollars are burned due to returns, because a bookstore can stock a book for 6 to 9 months and then return it back to the publisher if it doesn't sell. And when I first did print on demand in 2004, I thought I was really smart. I went through Ingram. I set up my book with a full discount. I made it fully returnable. And it was really awesome when Canada's largest retailer ordered 600 copies of my book. And they went into the stores, and I was really happy, and I did a little happy dance. And then 3 months later, when half of those books came back, and the cost for them coming back to me was more than the money I earned on them going out, and I was in the hole for a long, long time, it wasn't as fun. And so the challenge with books and bookstores and bookshelves is that discount. And the other challenge when it comes to KDP extended distribution, which will put it through an Ingram system where people can order it, is they don't give you the full discount. Amazon doesn't want you to buy the book at a bookstore. Amazon wants you to buy the book from Amazon. And bookstores don't want to buy from the competitor that's trying to put them out of business. Bookstores want to buy from distributors like Ingram. So Dan, Kevin, considering those challenges, what are some of the ways that people can maybe get their print-on-demand book at least listed through traditional book chains? So
I would say it's probably more effort than it's worth. And so I would highly encourage you. A lot of book buying, like print as well as digital, is just moving to online. Now that so many of the different retailers out there can deliver to you in 2 days or less. The days of like the walk into a bookstore set up are they're limited now. I think we're going to see Barnes & Noble have a much smaller footprint as far as the number of books they have in them. They're going to be smaller stores. That being said, like if you want to get into the bookstores, it's not going to work with expanded distribution because most of the bookstores and most of the libraries aren't going to order from Amazon if it's just listed through Amazon for print. And so you either want to go directly to Ingram Spark for your wide distribution of your print book, or sign up for our print beta. Our print beta gets your books wide as well. We're continuing to hammer away at print because we do think it's really good to have your book available in all possible formats. You want print book, you want digital book, you want audio book. The really neat thing on a lot of the different storefronts is if you have a print book, like especially Amazon will show you, hey, it's $19.99 for the print, but if you buy the digital, you're saving $15 because it's $4.99. Right. There are readers that just want to read in print, and so we think you should have your print available on demand. The great thing about print on demand is there's no risk to you. Like, you're not having to deal with that return system that Mark mentioned. In a lot of cases, those returns weren't even like we call them returns, but they just get destroyed after the bookstore doesn't sell them. And then either your publisher or you, if you're the one who's doing it, are just out that money and owe the money to the bookstore. So,
right. So that the expanded distribution means that your book is available for those bookstores to order, which is not necessarily a guarantee that book's going to be ordered by that bookstore. But one thing you can do it's a little bit limited because there's only one of you and only so much time. But one way you can start getting your book into physical bookstores is to start making arrangements to do signings at stores. Start locally, and then you could expand outward. I know it's a little bit like it's almost a little like the days of buying a bunch of self-published copies and driving around with them in the trunk of your car. But what it does is introduce you to more and more people who are in charge of organizing these events. Barnes & Noble, for example, they have a whole division of Barnes & Noble that's about organizing this stuff. So you begin to create relationships with these people. And if you have a signing that goes particularly well, it gets noticed. And so over time, just like marketing in general, it's this slow, like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill. You might actually reach the top and roll right on over, and then gravity takes over. But what happens a lot of times is you do these little. So like I spent about 2 years driving around and doing signings at small bookstores and local bookstores in various towns, but a couple of Barnes & Nobles and that sort of thing. And my books kind of linger. They kind of stick around because they're not a big investment by the bookstore. They'll buy a handful of copies and they're all print on demand. They kind of just stick around and stay in the bookstore. So if someone happens to discover it or go in and ask for it, it can benefit you. So
I want to say, like, we're getting towards the end of the broadcast. We're down to kind of like the last 7 minutes or so. Yeah. In the live comments, if you're not following the live comments, we've listed the web address to join our print beta, which is draft2digital.com/print beta. If you're interested in that, we had a couple of questions about audio, and we reached out to our friends at Findaway. Do we want to address that now?
Yeah, and actually, I'll pop up the question that's sort of related to that. So Jess asked, since audiobook markets are expanding a lot right now, does that impact your recommendations regarding wide or Amazon exclusive related to audiobooks? And then I'm going to dig into that other audio question that we know we had earlier, which was sort of marketing suggestions or tips for audiobooks specifically. And I think Kevin's got some cool stuff related to
I have an official statement from Findaway Voices, who are sort of our official, unofficial audiobook partners. And I'll read it out loud now. The biggest untapped opportunity for many authors is to really take the time to understand the retailers and business models, quotes, we give them access to, then have that inform their marketing. There's a world of difference between encouraging someone to make an a la carte purchase versus checking out your book for free at a library or through a subscription service like Scribd. Is it Scribd or Scribed?
Scribd, I think.
I'm going to go with Scribd.
and your marketing needs to take that into account. I'm going to add to this that audiobook marketing is really functionally not any different from marketing your ebooks, print books, or anything else, really. It is marketing we like to define as improving the odds that the right reader will find your book at the right time. The same thing applies to audiobooks. But Will from Findaway is saying you need to take into account the strategy that you have for both short-term and long-term in terms of how you want to grow. If your biggest thing is you want to attract as many listeners as possible in a short time as possible, that changes the approach you take to marketing your audiobooks. And it usually means raising the cost of your marketing. I'm a big fan of slow burn, long strategy marketing, which means that, just having an audiobook available alongside your print and ebooks is very beneficial to you. Because as Dan mentioned earlier, you get sort of a comparison shopper thing going on the product page of a book if the audio is also included. So it becomes an additional marketing tool.
I would say on the question of the wide versus exclusive, particular to audiobooks, I do think that's the most important choice authors have to make in the next few years is if you go with ACX and Audible, they have an option to be exclusive where you get paid more. But it's a 7-year term. When we talk about Kindle Select and Kindle Unlimited, that's a 90 days, experiment, do whatever. It's not a very long time, but 7 years of being exclusive as the audiobook market is just really taking off right now. I would highly encourage people to really think about that choice because there's so many other opportunities. There's subscription services around the world that are taking off. Platforms like Scribd, like Storytel, all the library systems now are doing audiobooks and digital. I would not just limit yourself. I think, Mark, you've had a lot of success with your audiobooks in libraries.
Yeah, libraries and even not the big places. I thought, okay, Audible and Apple and Kobo and places like that. But no, I've been making most of my audiobook money off of library distribution and other platforms that I had never even heard of. And that's kind of interesting to see. The other thing, too, is there's a difference between 90 days of exclusivity and 7 years, right? Yeah. That's a different, so much can change in 90 days, but so much can change in 7 years. So I wanted to, because we're getting close to the end, we had marketing questions. We actually had hundreds of marketing questions. Yeah. And we did actually have some ready to talk about. And we did talk a little bit about marketing because you can't help it as you're talking about selling books. But we will be doing a marketing only. So no conversion questions, no other questions about that, but just marketing.
No questions about pants or anything else.
No questions about people's beards or
what their marketing pants.
Yeah. So we will be doing a very specific focused marketing hour long, where we'll be taking some of the questions that came in, as well as taking your live questions. But we did want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today, and remind you that you guys you can have access to us for half-hour one-on-one consultations. You can ask any specific questions to Dan or Mark or Kevin, and the link is going to be popped up. Alyssa, thank you very much for supporting us by pushing those buttons for us. Is going to pop that up into the comments, where you can click through, and using Calendly, you'll be able to book a session of different time zones, different times of the day, where you can book a one-on-one chat with us, so we can dig into details, and we can even look at, look at your specific situation and whatever it is. I mean, if you want to talk scotch or beards or whatever, we're up for that too, but we'd love to be able to help you in your writing journey and in your writing path. Any closing words, Mr.
I do want to say we're going to be shutting the consult link. Won't last forever. And it's really only for the folks who are here right now. So get in there and register as quickly as you can for a time slot. And what was our time frame? What did we say was going to be the time frame for that?
For when it was going to get shut down?
Yeah,
that's a good question. It could be within the next hour, probably. So those live people have an opportunity to click that link and bookmark it, so they can check out the calendars and book some time to chat with us, a video chat, one-on-one, as well. We do plan on doing more of these.
It could be audio if you don't want to.
You can phone in.
If you're not video
you don't want
fan.
a camera, right?
If you don't want us to see you, that's fine.
We'll be doing it through Zoom, so you can do it from a computer, a mobile device, or there are phone numbers you can call, and we'll set up I want to put this out there. I want to emphasize this is a free 30-minute author consultation. We're not going to charge you any money, like $49 like some other organizations out there. This is free.
It's free, which is kind of cool. And thanks, guys, for so many amazing questions. So you'll probably be hearing from us directly, and we'll be addressing some of the questions in forthcoming blog posts as well that we'll be sharing. So keep an eye on our Facebook page. Keep an eye on the Draft2Digital blog. And thank you, guys. Dan,
yeah,
Kevin,
we're looking at doing this once a month. So this is going to be an ongoing thing. We've really wanted to bring some of the experience that we get out at conferences. Many of you we have got to meet one-on-one and have these conversations with and answer these questions. But there's a lot of you that just, maybe you live on the far side of the world. Maybe you just don't have the time or the money right now to go to conferences. That's what this session is for. And so we're going to be doing these. We haven't set a specific date for the next one, right? But it'll be sometime in mid to late July.
This was letting us work out some of the kinks and bugs. Yeah. And we've already learned a lot, especially about shutting down the questions, the pre-written questions a little early, because that was looking like it was going to get pretty large. So I'm glad everybody got excited about this. We are all very excited about this. Everybody at the Draft2Digital offices is watching this. They're excited about this. A little mad at us for some of the things we've mentioned. I'm just going to put that out there. But yes, we're going to be back, and we're going to do a marketing focused one and probably a lot more. So thanks for tuning in for this.
And Dan and Kevin and Alyssa, thank you guys so much for this. It's been amazing. And you authors, thank you. We couldn't do what we do if we didn't have your great books that we could share with the world and with readers. So all the best.
It'd be lonely.
Yeah, it would be very, very lonely. So all the best to all of you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us today. And we will catch you next time.
Later.
Cheers.
I wanted to reflect on something about the Draft2Digital Ask Us Anything. So this is a kind of a fun thing to do, a unique thing to do. It's something that we're going to be doing once a month. So if you missed the opportunity to catch it live or ask particular questions, or you submitted a question and it wasn't asked, we're going to continue to be answering questions we didn't get to, as well as new questions, as well as doing focused stuff like just all marketing. But one of the things that kind of caught me by surprise was how few people took advantage of the free consultation, the one-on-one with Kevin or Dan or myself. And that's something that happens with writers a lot, is there's an offer, you meet someone at a conference or you connect with someone and they offer to do something for you or share something with you, and it's free. All it costs is a bit of your time, perhaps. And there's an opportunity for you to learn or to gain from that experience. Now, I don't know what it is in our human nature that prevents us from being able to take advantage of an offer like that. But I would implore you, whether you've gone to a conference and somebody says something, or somebody offers something, if you see that there's an opportunity or there's something that you want to learn or you are able to get, I really implore you to sort of pull yourself out of the cocoon and just reach out and ask. It's happened so often where offers have been placed to be there to share something, and the people who are doing it because they want to help, because they want to give, because they want to contribute to the success of somebody else, or share some of their own experiences and the things that they've learned themselves that they want to put out there. And I know it's really, really hard, because when you're sitting back and you're thinking, well, gee, I'm not sure what to talk about, it's okay. For some of the one-on-ones, if I've got a bunch of them on my calendar for the next several weeks, it's going to be a lot of fun. Whether or not the author comes with this is specifically what I'm looking to do, sometimes it's just, I'm not sure, I just need to talk. And that's part of the joy, that's part of the thrill, that's part of the excitement. I also know from my point of view, even though I'm there to give advice or to look at an author's, look at something specifically and walk through it with them, is I love that collaborative process. I love the the fact that when you can be creative with another person, and that's an amazing opportunity. It's why going to conferences, it's why I find that so powerful, so meaningful, and so helpful. And we can't always go to conferences. We can't always afford the expense. We can't always get away from the job. We can't always get away from family commitments. And so, attending a virtual a webinar like that, or even being able to connect with someone else, whether it's somebody who works in the industry like Dan and Kevin and I, or whether it's just another author that you just want to connect with. I really urge that if you have an opportunity like that to get out of your that sort of comfort zone and say, yeah, I'm going to reach out and I'm going to talk to them. For myself, when I think about all of the amazing people that I've had the opportunity to connect with over the years, I have never regretted reaching out, and whether it was to just tell an author that I've admired for so long how much I admire what they're writing, or to ask a question. I've always found that the reward of just asking is a good thing, or sharing. For example, telling Michael Connolly how much I admired, the character of Harry Bosch, and then even asking specific questions about that was really valuable, because at the end of the day, one of the things it did is it let him know there was yet one more reader out there who really appreciates what he's doing. And, asking questions specifically about the writing process is also something that, answering the question, he knows he's being helpful to another writer, which is kind of cool. So when that opportunity comes up, please take advantage of it. I even have, and I've had this open for more than a year, I have 20-minute spots on my calendar available to just chat for 20 minutes. And if you go to markleslie.ca and you click on consulting, you can actually see, for 20 minutes, just ask me something. And I've budgeted particular slots on my calendar because I know there's people who can't get to conference. I know there's people who have questions and they prefer to learn through conversation. They're not going to learn by reading it. They're not going to learn by listening or watching a video or whatever. Then maybe that their best way to learn is to interact with someone and have a dynamic conversation. And that's one of the reasons I do that, because if I can spend 20 minutes of my time and end up helping a writer with some stumbling block or answer a question that they've just not sure where to turn to, or maybe I don't have the answer, but maybe I know some place or someone who does have the answer, maybe that helps them. And maybe that's all that they needed for that next step. So again, just wanted to, I know I'm harping on this repeatedly, but remind you that when opportunities like that present themselves, it's really, really good to step up and to put your hat in the ring. I'm not going to go with all the analogies I can come up with, but to just participate and to just put it out there, because you're worth it. You are worth that time. You are worth the energy involved in that. It's worth investing in yourself in that way, particularly if somebody else is willing to help invest in that with you. Take advantage of that and think about all of the things that you need to do, all of the things that you want to do to grow as a writer, and invest in yourself in that way. It's only 20 minutes, it's only half an hour, it's only an hour. Go ahead and take advantage of that, because you are worth it. Well, that's it for episode 83 of the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. I want to send a special shout out to all the patrons of the show. Thank you so much for being part of the show and supporting the show in the way that you do. There will be a couple extra Stark Reflections on other podcasts coming out. As I've been driving a lot this week, I've had an opportunity to be listening to more podcasts, and of course making notes on some of the things that I've learned or that folks have said in the other podcasts, and then sharing those reflections with you. So that's one of the benefits you get from being a patron. Thank you to all patrons of the show who support the show over at patreon.com/starkreflections, and thank you for listening to the show. It's a fun show to produce, and it's fun to have folks out there who I know are listening to and enjoying the show. I'll be back next week with episode 84. And so until next week, and until episode 84, here's wishing you great writing and good Stark Reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.